My wife and I went to Valencia 3 different times during our most recent trip to Spain, and every time we came to Valencia, we discovered things that were unexpected and also maybe just a little bit weird. In this video, I'll be sharing with you all of the weird experiences we had in Valencia, and 4 of these things are going to win a special award for being just absolutely bizarre. My name is Ryan, my wife Emily and I are the Snail Travelers. Just outside the main train station, we pass by this beautiful building that is Valencia's City Hall, and if I freeze the video clip and look very closely, there is a weird and creepy bat gargoyle type thing on this building. We also discovered bats painted on buildings around Valencia and on the manhole covers around the city. We did some quick research to find out that the bat is the city's official insignia. Next, we went to a craft market so Emily could get a few craft supplies, and that is where we saw the weirdest apron we have ever seen. I'm not sure who would want to wear an apron with this design. Next, we had lunch at a restaurant where we were excited to find paella with only chicken and not seafood. All of the paella dishes that we had seen up to that point contained seafood, but we found out later that Valencia paella is commonly made without seafood, and the beans in this paella are the biggest I have ever seen. After lunch, we headed to Valencia's Central Market, which is absolutely massive. In fact, if you took Ryan and Emily's apartment and started replicating it, you could fit 100 of our apartments inside this market. As we wandered around the market, we saw some of the biggest cookies we've ever seen. We saw some of the biggest tomatoes we've ever seen. We saw apples wearing black sweaters. And the biggest strawberries we've ever seen. I know they don't look that big, but they are. And we saw snails for sale, but since we're the Snail Travelers, we can't imagine ever eating snails. We also saw what looked like gray worms in a jar, but this isn't the first time we've seen this in Spain. We also saw them in Madrid, and it turns out that these are baby eels. This is a delicacy in Spain, and the price for these have become so expensive that they now produce imitations that taste similar but cost a lot less. And then as we continued walking through the market, we came across this absolutely massive nativity scene, so big that I couldn't get the whole thing on video even with a wide-angle lens. If you watched our video about Granada, then you know we saw some nativity scenes there too, but this one here in the market was much bigger. And I've never seen an animatronic man smoking hookah in a nativity scene before. And this is going to win one of the 4 prizes for the most bizarre things we experienced in Valencia. After we left the market, we saw some weird wooden statues and a weird drinking fountain, and I'm not sure I would want to drink water being spit out of a face like this. We saw many beautiful orange trees around the city. We have orange trees where we live too, but I've never seen trees with this many oranges on them. These Valencia oranges are absolutely delicious, by the way. Get some if you're here at the right time of year. We headed over to Valencia's main cathedral, which is believed to have the Holy Grail, which is the cup Jesus used at the Last Supper. The price to go into the cathedral was €9, so we decided to skip this experience. Although we did pay €2.50 to climb the tower of the cathedral to get an absolutely fabulous view over this city. When we were up there, the bell gonged, which is the loudest bell or possibly any noise we've experienced anywhere. We did see several tour groups here at the cathedral, and when we looked online to find out more about these tours, we discovered that some of the tours that come to see the Holy Grail are themed to the Indiana Jones movie. Maybe if I knew more about the movie, I would understand this, but to have tour guides dressed up like Indiana Jones is going to be the second of the top 4 awards for the weirdest things about Valencia, although I suppose it would be fun for kids. After our visit to the cathedral, we wandered around central Valencia and noticed something very interesting, and that is how empty the streets were. The people in Valencia seem to take siesta time a bit more seriously compared to other places we have visited in Spain, and I really like that. As we continued exploring, we discovered some very weird door knockers. We didn't want to actually knock on the door, so we didn't try to figure out how they work. And then we came across this building here, which depending on who you ask, is either the most narrow apartment in Europe or in the world. So why would anybody want to build or live in a house that is this tall and narrow? Well, our understanding is that at one time, and I don't know if it's still true, that property tax was based on a home's width and not the amount of floor space. I'm not sure I myself could ever live in an apartment that has a distance between its walls that is less than my arm span, and I'm going to give the skinniest apartment the third of our top 4 awards for the weirdest things in Valencia. On our next visit to Valencia, we saw a complex with these funky buildings that completely contradict the traditional architecture we had seen in Valencia up to this point. Here at the Science Museum, there are a variety of sundials to experiment with. This first one, you stand on the date and your shadow gives you the time. Yep, sure enough, it's 12 o'clock noon. Here is exhibit number 2. Then we have exhibit number 3. And exhibit number 4 was especially weird, and I couldn't figure this one out. We then headed over to 2 more buildings with weird architecture, the Hemispheric, which is an IMAX theater, and the Performing Arts Theater right next door. We then wandered through the park where we saw this weird sculpture, rain spouts that were on the bottom side of a bridge that looked kind of like dragons maybe, or maybe eagles, I don't know. We also saw an angel carved into a water pipe, parrots on the ground, which was weird because I've only ever seen parrots in trees, and we saw a tile mosaic of a hiney. And the weirdest playground I have ever seen anywhere is right here in Valencia. The design of this playground was very confusing to me when I looked at it from the ground, but once I saw the Google satellite view of this playground, it made more sense. We enjoyed watching the children go down the slides, and this cute and adorable child in particular looked like he was really having a great time at this playground, don't you think? But yeah, this playground wins one of the top 4 awards for weird things here in Valencia. A few other random weird things we saw on our third visit include a church that is purple. I've never seen a church that color before. After that, we saw a multicolored stormtrooper, which is a little weird because I've only ever seen white stormtroopers. After that, we came across some gigantic trees, absolutely massive in a small city park. I thought these were magnolia trees, and I have never seen them this big. And just for reference, the magnolia tree you see here in this photo is exactly 53 years old, and I know that because my parents planted this exact tree when I was born 53 years ago. And based on the size of this tree in Valencia, I assume that this magnolia tree must be hundreds of years old. Well, it turns out we discovered that it wasn't a magnolia tree after all when we saw this sign, but it was still a little weird to see these massive trees in the middle of Valencia. At this point, we were getting hungry, and since we hadn't had Mexican food in over a year, we were excited to get some tacos at this restaurant. We were also excited to see horchata on the menu, which is a creamy Mexican beverage made with cinnamon. Now, there shouldn't be anything weird about that. This was a Mexican restaurant after all. But what surprised us is that we would see horchata many more times here in Valencia. We even went to a restaurant that is dedicated to horchata. Well, to our surprise, we found out that horchata actually originated here in Valencia, not in Mexico. Next is the weather, which has been very weird and unusual the last few years. First of all, the summers are usually hot here, but the more recent summers have been exceptionally hot. And Valencia also experienced the worst flooding in its history about a year ago. Totally unprecedented and devastating. And when we were in a town just outside of Valencia, we experienced one of the fiercest windstorms we have ever encountered. I know the word weird has a bit of a negative connotation, but I certainly don't mean to imply that there is anything negative about Valencia. Discovering weird and unusual things is what we love about traveling, and Valencia was a terrific city to visit here in Spain. Please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future videos. Here is our previous video about our month in Orpesa, Spain. And over here, I will put our next video, which will be from Barcelona as soon as it's ready. Thanks for traveling with us.